Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday early evening, August the 15th, 2021. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show. This will be my weekly update that I'll be putting on YouTube, where I go over methane readings for the week, sea ice, and earthquakes, and climate, and whatever else might need to be addressed. So, I'd like to welcome everyone, and if you're a new subscriber, I welcome you. Hope you enjoy the information and you find it useful. And if you'd like reports during the week, I do those for my Subscribe members, and the link is in the description box below. I also archive all of those posts over on my website at margoshealingcorner.com. And so I've been doing some archiving just to kind of get caught up. So we'll get started with the show here. It's been a difficult week for a lot of people, I know. It's for me. I live in the Reno, Nevada area, and the smoke from the wildfires in California has been covering us up. I mean, we can't see the sun. It's been like this for, weeks on end, it seems like. But anyway, I'm suffering from that, but that's about it. Anyway, it's just part of what we've got going on. So I'm going to start with the NOAA methane data. This is for the 477/469 millibar reading. This is the MET-OP1, renamed MET-OP-B satellite for the morning of yesterday, the 14th. The mean or average was 1924 parts per billion. So that's a new high number that we haven't seen before on the mean here. The high reading was 2701, so that's another number that's higher than normal. And this pink, here's the color chart down here. The pink signifies between 2000 and whatever is this top number in the range. So somewhere between 2000 and 2701 is this pink all the way across North America and parts of the Arctic and parts of the southern hemisphere too. So we don't know exactly where this 2701 spiked up, because we don't have access to that information, but it did record on their readings. In the afternoon, the mean was 1925, so that's higher than the 1924, so another record here. The high reading was 2406. On the MET-OP2 satellite in the morning, the mean was 1903. Now, I think this may be a high for this satellite. It tends to run a little lower than the MET-OP1 satellite. The high reading was 2502. In the afternoon, the mean was 1902. The high reading was 2274. Here's the chart and spreadsheet that we're working off of. And that all averages out to 1913.5 parts per billion for the 14th. That's showing an increase over the week before of 4.25 parts per billion. So we're zipping up, and here we are. See the blue line, it jumped up over this 1910 line for the week, and now it's been kind of hovering around that for the last few weeks, but it finally got up over that line for our weekly report. Now we're 17 parts per billion higher than we were a year ago this time, and we're 56.25 parts per billion higher than March the 1st of 2019 when I started recording all of this. So typically the warming season for methane, where it's rising, is in the summertime and into the fall, usually around October. Now we got kind of a late start this year. It didn't bottom out until in January. Normally it bottoms out in December, but it bottomed out in January. So we're about a week or 2 weeks behind the trends of from my records. So there's that. So we're at an all-time high on methane. Now let's see what it did this week. I do record this on a daily basis, and this is one of the things I report on my videos during the week. So here we are in my report. Last Sunday, for the 7th, which was Saturday, we were at 1909.25 parts per billion, and that had gone down over the day before, but we were still up 1.25. So that was for Saturday. And then Sunday it went up 0.5. Monday it went up 1.25. Tuesday it went up 1.25. Wednesday it went back down 1.25. Thursday no change. Friday it went up 0.5. And then Saturday it jumps up 2 parts per billion in one day. So that's how we ended up being 4.25 parts per billion higher this week. So I don't know how fast it's going to keep going up. You know, I don't know when we're going to peak out this year. One of the big issues is all the wildfires in Russia. It's been releasing a lot of methane because the permafrost is thawing. It's actually burning, and it's an awful situation, but it's part of what's happening as everything is unraveling. Now, if you recall in my show last week, CAMS had not released any new methane data since Wednesday, and that was the week before. And so then early this week they started releasing data, and so I got all of the data recorded, and it's on my Subscribestar page. And some of them are just silent movies, and because when they start releasing the data, they'll release one day at a time, then leave it up for a few hours, and then they put the next day up, and that's up for a few hours, and the other day goes away. So it's quite an adventure trying to get everything recorded, and I did get it all recorded, and they're up to date now with their methane. And so today we will look at Saturday the 14th to because it's the same day as what we went over on NOAA, so we get an accurate comparison here. Here we're on the Arctic view, and here we're going to start out by looking at surface level. So we went up 2 parts per billion since the day before. Here's the color ledger at the bottom. So here's where we ended on Friday. I'll just run this. So the data is for Saturday, and the forecast period is Sunday through Wednesday. So the wildfires from Yakutia area up all the way up to the northern part of Siberia, and then east, and then we've got another area here in Russia that's really got high readings. You can see the background colors are a lot higher, and see they're up into the yellow and the orange range for the background colors. And here in the Scandinavian area we have, it looks like a big blob over into Russia. And earlier this week we saw waves of methane just moving out across the Barents Sea, the Kara Sea, and the Laptev Sea, waves of red, and it was quite impressive. We're still seeing high releases here around Komsomolets, and it looks like that's spread out and in the North Kara Sea. And see these waves moving out. We've got some higher readings on Iceland. You'll see it pop off here on the southern part, and then on this northern part too. Now we'll go to the North Pole view. And whenever I see CAMS being offline for a few days, I always wonder if they've recalibrated or tweaked the algorithm or something. I always look for a change in the color chart. That hasn't happened recently. And so far I can't really tell of an algorithm shift. It just, look at all this green. See, it's covering up this whole eastern side. See, here in Europe we've got high readings. Here's the Persian Gulf. That looks less, in fact. Here's India. Here's China. They're always kind of filled up. Here's Korea. And here in North America, we've got, see, high readings just spreading out across Canada. Now they've had a lot of fires burning this summer too, and then we've got fires in California and up the west coast and up in Idaho and just all the way across. Now here in the US, we've got the usual areas where they have high methane all the time, like up here in the upper kind of the Ohio River Valley region right there. And then different places. Let's see, West Texas, we've got the big blob there. And then we've got California. And if we looked at this on the North America view, we would see a lot more details and a lot more areas where we've got very high methane readings. Also, I want to bring your attention to this wave. See the green moving out. It's a couple of waves. Because when they tweaked the algorithm, it kind of took things down a notch. So this is significant when we see these waves of the greenish color move around. That's a sign of very high methane. And see, we've got one here coming off the east coast of North America too. Now we'll hop down to the Antarctic. I've been showing that recently because we've been seeing it come up around the coastline. It's still dark down there. There are parts like this tippy point of the Western Peninsula that's in the light now. The sun has just started to barely come up. I mean, it's just shifting to where different parts on the exterior are starting to come into the sunlight now. Now, when we watch this, here's the Western Peninsula. See that blue come up? That's coming up. This is around the Larsen B ice shelf. This is Larsen C down here. See that? That's high, pretty high reading coming up through the ice shelf there, or around the coastline. And also on this western edge, see, we've got some coming up. And also here around the Brunt ice sheet. It's sporadic, but you can see it's isolated from what's streaming down from South America. And we can also see the overall background color is that light blue rather than the dark blue now. So that's another sign that methane has gone up overall. Now we'll look at the global view. Someone left a comment about above 2160, there's no degradation. No, there's no degradation in the methane between 2160 and 10,000 parts per billion. So when you see this dark brownish reddish color, sometimes I call it black, it can be anywhere in that range. We just don't know what it is, but it's high. It's at least 2160 and higher. We still have the white spot popping up here near Beijing, and where it's white, we've got a couple there. That's where it's above the 10,000 parts per billion. It's above what they can measure here. And we still have a little bit of the dark blue here in the southern hemisphere. Not much. It's mainly this, so the dark blue is 1800 parts per billion. The light blue is 1820. Then it goes up as you see it changing colors. It goes up. Now we'll look at 500 HPA. Look at that. See all this heavy reading over India, Southern Asia, and then up into China, and also spread out across Russia, and then coming over to Alaska. Here's total column. This is where they take methane through all the levels from surface level up and then add them up and get the highest readings, and the highest is India, Southern Asia, over to China. We also have some of that darker color here in the middle of the Persian Gulf, and this the red is spreading out over into Africa here, and we still have red up here in Russia. This is over the fires. We had an ozone hole open up over the Antarctic this week. I've been following it, and it's still there. I've got a picture of it. I'll show you in a minute. So that's all with methane. Now, so let's go through the rest of these pictures before we get to sea ice. Oh, here's Greenland. Here's the melt as of yesterday. This is on their website today. Look at all of this. This is all the salmon color, and it rained. There was a huge rainstorm on this west side of Greenland yesterday, but look how far it's melting in the interior. That is not good. Here's their chart for melt extent. This is the latest off of, this is National Snow and Ice Data Center, and so see that with that melt yesterday it spiked back up. It looks like about as high as where it was. I think that was July 28th where it spiked up over 50%. We're over 50% on melt, meaning over half of the ice sheet was melting yesterday. It looks like almost 55%, maybe 54%. So that's not good. And this dotted blue line is the average. And see, normally it kind of peaked out in July, and then it would start the trend down, and then come August it would be well on its way down, and then September kind of bottoming out for the winter. But not this year. Look at this. One of the reasons is because there's more rain up there because of the warmer temperatures, and the rain will definitely melt it. And then we've got the smoke, and that adds to to the melt. And sulfur dioxide up there, and that adds to the melt as well. Here's sulfur dioxide today. Now, a couple of days ago, there was an undersea volcano that blew up here, part of the Japan Islands, the Volcano Islands range, just south of Japan. And I reported on that in my show yesterday, and it was amazing. It was under the water and it blew up, and here you can still see it's coming up and registering on CAMS today. This is all from the volcano. Here it is at 500 HPA, so here's the highest reading where it drifted off. And then next we've got high reading here in South America, and then Popocatépetl, and then here's some over the Persian Gulf, and a little bit here at Kamchatka, Russia. And then we can see the blues and the greens that have spread out over the Arctic, and see how all of Russia almost is into blues and greens here. And this is kind of unusual, especially at 500 HPA, but this is from the wildfires. There's a lot of sulfur dioxide that that's produced from the wildfires. Here's the Pacific view. See how it streamed out in two places, but the actual volcano is about right down here. And 500 HPA. Okay, here's the ozone hole today over the Antarctic. We've got 3 holes actually. We've got one on the northern part, big hole here, and see around now. Okay, this blue, the purple color, that's between 200 and 220 Dobson units, and this big thick black line is surrounding this region, meaning it's in the danger zone. And the next color up is the aqua, which is 220 to 240 Dobson units, and so on. So it's still thin. We have a lot of thin. See all the aqua, and then the next color down is the purple. So we've got another hole here in the, I think this is the Amundsen Sea, and then a hole, a little one here on the southern tip, just next to the Ross Sea. So that's not good. Here's the Arctic view of ozone. We can see it's thinning. We've got green here over Russia. Now the smoke is spreading out all the way across, and then we've got the next level down from the Chartreuse here in Russia, coming out over the Kara Sea, and see Greenland is also got a thinning over it. That doesn't help matters any. And then Canada, and then western US, it's got a thin area. And the smoke will eat up the ozone, will absolutely eat it up. Here are the fires from today. This is the North Pole view, and see, it's just spread out this whole eastern side of Russia and out over to the Aleutian Islands and over to Alaska. And then here in North America, We've got a huge spreading out event, and I've got the smoke where I live, where it's spreading out. Here's the flat view of the globe with the smoke, and here's Africa with its fires, and here's South America with its fires. So we got smoke going around the globe. That's all of those. Now we'll get started on sea ice. Now, a couple of days this week, their model was off, and on this North America view, they weren't showing any sea ice, and it was a glitch in the matrix. So I didn't record it for Sunday and Monday. I mean, I could get the Russia view, but I decided to heck with it. And then I missed recording it on the 13th. I don't know why. I can't remember what I was doing. I might not have felt well that day. So, here we are today. This is from Climate Reanalyzer, Sea Ice and Snow Cover. Okay, so here we see Baffin Bay is pretty much clear. There's just a little wisp down here. This east side of Greenland is clear, and this eastern edge is melting in. Here's Svalbard. There's still a little bit, but it's really broken up. And when we look at NASA Worldview, you'll see there's a lot of open water here on this east side. We still have some ice around Severnaya Zemlya. There's some thicker ice here in the North Kara Sea that's breaking up and going away, but it's kind of, I think it's being pushed up next to the island here. This northern edge is pretty ragged. It's been melting quite a bit and thinning. We've been seeing mainly a lot of thinning, not a lot of change in the extent this week, but you can see the darker colors where it's not as concentrated. There's a hole opening up here in the Beaufort Sea, and it's quite thin and not very concentrated here in the Chukchi Sea. So that's what we can see from this picture. So let's go back. We'll look at Tuesday the 10th. Here's what it looked like. And you may not see much change from the 10th to today. Here's the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and here we are today. So, like I said, the extent is not much change, but a lot of thinning has been going on. Now we'll look at the U.S. Navy models. This is Arctic sea ice thickness for today. Here's our color ledger on the right hand side. If we saw any greens and yellows and reds, it'd be up. That's in the thicker zone, up to 5 meters with the dark red. Primarily we're seeing more like the light lavender, like that's 0.5 meter thick. Dark purple is about 1 meter thick. The dark blue is about 1.25 meters thick, like what you see here above Greenland. And then the darker aqua and then bright aqua is about 2, or kind of to the darker aqua going into the bright aqua is about 2 meters thick. Like we're seeing a little bit of aqua here in quadrant 4. That's got the most thicker ice. So this is what we've got today. Let's zoom in and take a peek. By looking at all these models, we have a pretty good idea of what areas to look at on NASA Worldview to get a look at the ice. Here we've got this hole that's opening up on the north coast of Greenland, and the aqua ice, the thicker ice, is deteriorating as well. Also, it's opening up along Ellesmere Island and further down along this Canadian archipelago. See the purple and the light purple. This is the Nares Strait. We saw last week that had opened up, and now ice is moving through. It's exiting from the Lincoln Sea down through the Nares Strait. We've also got ice exiting through these tributaries. Though it kind of depends. It depends on a few factors as to how much ice is going to be left and what it's going to look like at the end of this melt season. It's going to depend how much escapes through these tributaries. It's also going to depend how warm the air is up here, also how much rain they get. If we get an Arctic cyclone that could just get rid of all of this in a heartbeat, how much underwater warming we get. It just depends on a lot of factors. So here's quadrant 1. We can see what was left of the thicker ice here in this East Siberia Sea. That's gone, and that's today. And see this edge, it's really jagged where it's been melting and moving in. The Laptev Sea is open here and so we see the whitish. You'll see areas on NASA Worldview where it's just open water because it's not very concentrated. And here in quadrant 2, see it's still thinning. We've got in the light purple, so about 1/2 meter thick. And then here's the aqua up here in the North Kara Sea. We can see it's breaking up though, and it's kind of hugging Severny Zemlya there. And then in quadrant 3 we've got this hole over Greenland, and we've got dark purple and dark blue primarily in this quadrant, a little bit of aqua, so about 1 to 1.25 meters thick here. And then in quadrant 4, see it's really kind of more dark aqua. I'm not seeing bright aqua here at all. We've got a little bit of bright aqua here north of Greenland, but when you get over here it's that dark aqua. So this is breaking up and separating and sloshing around and melting. That's what's happening here. Here in the Beaufort Sea and moving over into the Chukchi Sea, this is what was left of the multi-year ice, the old ice that had slid down over the winter. We watched it through the models sliding down from up here, and it was a pretty good size over the Canadian or above the Canadian archipelago that slid down during the winter, and this is what's left. It's been breaking up and spreading apart. That's what we've got there. This some of this is multi-year ice, some of it isn't, and you know, it didn't melt all the way down. Last year we still had thin ice. We had a lot of thin ice throughout these quadrants. So they count even if it was thin ice that refroze, or, you know, it froze over again. They call that multi-year ice. Here's the 30-day animation. This is updated, and the data goes back 3 weeks. The forecast period goes out 1 week from today, so to next Sunday. So let's zoom in and see what this model is predicting or forecasting. So out to the 22nd. So it's really kind of a race against time here. Normally the minimum is reached around the middle of September. I don't know if it'll be done melting by then, because we got kind of a late start this year with the methane, so I don't know if the same is going to happen with the sea ice, and it'll keep going. We'll have to see what happens. So it's just shrinking down and getting thinner. And as soon as it starts breaking apart, then you start seeing really high melt, because the water heats up in between the pieces of ice. And it's like, you know, a piece of solid ice takes longer to melt than ice cubes, it seems like. So I'm going to stop it. Okay, here we are. A week from today. I'll show you 22nd. So let's see what the forecast is showing. So just more melting here in this East Siberia Sea. And see the thinning where it's getting into very light lavender. Here across the Chukchi Sea, Beaufort Sea is starting to open up somewhat. And this edge, see, it's melting around the edge and just thinning more than anything. We still have a little bit of aqua here in the North Kara Sea. And then north of Greenland, still have a little bit of aqua here. Here we still have our hole, and it's still thinning here in quadrant 3. And we've got a pretty big difference here in quadrant 4. with the shape of this ice, you can see how it's really coming apart and deteriorating. So where will we be in a month? I don't know. Will all of this pretty much be melted in quadrants 1 and 2? It could be. And this, what's already in the light lavender, it could be. We'll just have to see. Here's the Beaufort view for sea ice thickness. So Alaska is down here at the bottom. Here's Canada on the right. Here's what's left of that thicker multi-year ice. You can see where it's just spreading out here, coming apart. Here's a hole, big hole there. And then along this coastline, about the thickest I see is green and a little bit into yellow, and it's just a little bit here. So just a tiny, like 3.5 meters thick, just a little bit here, here, and along the coastline there. Here's the 30-day animation. Wow, look how this breaks up this week. See, that's going away. So a lot of melt this week, it looks like. See the aqua shrink down. See, here it goes. So there's that. Now we'll hop to the Antarctic. Here's sea ice thickness for today. We can see it's thickening up, going from purple into the blue, and then blue and more aqua up here in the Weddell Sea and around the coastlines. But look down here on this western edge and southern edge, and I don't really understand why this is. If anyone has an idea, you can put it in the comment section. But see, around this coastline there's no ice. It's pulled away, and then it's got a ridge that's thicker. But right around the coastlines, it's open. Also over here on this eastern side, we've got areas like that. But then around other parts, see, the ice comes, especially with the thicker ice, it comes right up to the coastline. So I don't know why that is. Because it starts out, I'll show you. Here's the animation. 3 weeks ago, it shows that it was along the coastline, and then it pulls out. See? Look at that. Here it goes. Why is that? I really don't understand. See, you can see it moving out. Look, here it goes. I don't think it's good, whatever it is. So there's that. Now, that's all of those. We've got earthquakes. We'll look at those in a minute. Now we'll tour through Climate Reanalyzer. Here in the Arctic today, we've got some light blue, which is actually around 0 Celsius. So the air, we have some cooler air moving across. It's actually freezing. But most of the Arctic is above freezing. See any green tinge, that's above freezing. Here's the flat view. Look at Spain. Up here, look at this upper Midwest. Here's 2-meter temperature anomaly. Now, see, Greenland is in the brown, so it's warmer than normal. We've still got some brown up here along the coastline. And then we've got a lot of blues. And then we've got browns from the west coast over throughout Canada and the US up there. So worldwide we're up 0.2 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.7 C. The Arctic is up 1.1 C. The tropics are up 0.4 C. The southern hemisphere is down 0.2 C. The Antarctic is down 3.4 C, lower than normal. Here's precipitation. We can see it's still raining and also snowing here at Greenland. This whole west side. See the rain? That's the green. Then blue is snow. And then we've got rain here over the Kara Sea in Russia. We've got, it's raining in Alaska. And we've got some snow here over the Beaufort Sea. We'll look at the jet stream. See, it's broken. It broke earlier this year. I don't remember when. Sometime this spring, I think it broke. We saw sea ice and snow cover. Here's sea surface temperature anomaly for yesterday. Now, notice in the Barents Sea there's hardly any blue. There was a lot of blue here, meaning cooler than normal, but see, that's being overtaken with the brown as things are heating up. And then look in the Kara Sea, we're up into the pink zone, which is 6C higher than normal. And then here in the Laptev Sea, we've got brown and reds, and then some browns along the coastlines. We've got browns in these inside. Look at Greenland. Look at all this red and pink on the east side and red on the bottom, brown on the west side. So this water is just not good. So all around where the sea ice is on the edges, see, it's warmer than normal. See, this is in the browns, so that's about 4 and 5 C higher than normal there. So that means the ice will melt where it comes into contact with it. Here's the flat view. And it's still, now it's not looking as bad around Japan as it has been. It's still got some reds, but look up here off the coast of Russia and around Kamchatka and then across the Pacific, and then here's our blob in the North Pacific that's kind of always there. Then the interior bodies of water, they're higher as well. See? Worldwide, we're up 0.5 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.8 C, so that's a rise. North Atlantic and North Pacific are up 0.7 C. Equatorial Pacific is up 0.1 C, and the southern hemisphere is up 0.2 C higher than normal. There's that. Now we'll go through. This is National Snow and Ice Data Center, Sea Ice Index. Here's the Arctic with the concentration, and you see the dark blues. That's where it's really melting a lot. It's not very well concentrated. And so this matches up with the other models that we've looked at. Here's Arctic sea ice extent. This is as of yesterday. Uh-oh, I didn't mean to do that. View image. Here we go. Now we had been kind of running parallel with 2012. This dotted line is 2012. This year is here, the blue line. And then we broke away, and it was a little bit higher than 2012 for a couple of days, and then it leveled off with kind of no change, and now it's going back down. So it's still melting, and the extent is still shrinking, is what I should say. And we saw Greenland. Oh, we gotta look at the Antarctic. Here's concentration. Here's extent. View image. This blue line is this year. This gray-green line is last year. And this gray line is average. So we've been above average this year on the regrowth. We were below average last year. Now here, it looks like we're going to meet up with last year's. And it doesn't look like it's been growing back parallel to what it had started out at. So I think the extent is pretty much done in the Antarctic. We'll see. We saw Greenland, like I said. Okay, now here we go to NASA World View so we can get the satellite images. This is as of today. This is the Arctic view. And we can see all this smoke. This is over Russia. all the way over. This is Kamchatka here, and see the smoke spreading out, and also going to the west there. It's also, we still got a lot of smoke here over the Arctic. So before we go in to the satellite view, we'll turn on this sea ice concentration level and turn on blue marble so we're not distracted by the clouds. Now, here's where we're at with the melt today, and we want to see white for, you know, really good concentration, but we're seeing shades of pink, and then going down into red, and then going down through the rainbow. Here we can see high melt going on here in the Beaufort Sea, also on this northern edge, high melt. And here's the little wispies that are left here in this East Siberian Sea. Here's what we've got left in the North Kara Sea, all around Severnaya Zemlya. Here's a big hole opening up on the east side, but we've still got some ice around it. And here's where it's just kind of streaming down parallel to Greenland here. Here we can, this model is clear on the Baffin Bay. Now, for some reason, we've got, looks like a little bit of refreeze here in the Hudson Bay over yesterday. Isn't that interesting? See? Also down into the Lake Michigan, the Great Lakes area. So there's that. So let's go back to the 8th, which was where we were last week. Here we were, and I'll just click through each day and you can see the changes. Here's the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. Here we are today. So there's a big change going on here. See, this is opening up here in the Chukchi Sea. And we've got holes. Here's a hole in the Beaufort Sea. So we'll turn off the layers, those layers. And we'll zoom in and see what we can see. We'll start here at Greenland. This north edge, here's where the hole is opened up along the coastline. And see the melting. Now we've got some clouds we're having to deal with. But this is in this is deteriorating. See, it's coming apart. This whole area, see. See that? That's open water here. We have to look through so many clouds and things. Sometimes it's a thin layer, sometimes it's a thick layer, sometimes there are no clouds. It just depends on the weather. Here's Svalbard. See, that's open. We've got a lot of clouds. Here's the ice edge. See the pieces. Here's Franz Josef Land. And see, there's a lot of room between these pieces of ice. So that's open. And then the edge, the ice edge comes up this way. Then here's Severny Zemlya. Here's Vovolov ice cap. And can't really see the ice pouring out here. It's because of the clouds. We saw it before though. See? I showed that last week on the 6th. That was a really good view. See, the ice is pouring out. This is from the Vovolov ice cap. And then smoke and clouds took over. So here, you can see it pouring out here. Right around there. The tongue coming out. That's on the 12th. It's the 13th. 14th. Here we are today. Can't see it. Here's the Laptev Sea. Here's the coastline. Here's Russia along here. But that's open. You can see all the clouds. Can't really see anything. Oh wait, that's not the Russia coastline. I got disoriented. Sorry. We're up here. See, it's easy to get lost. Here's the Taimyr Peninsula. Here's open water. Here's the Russia coastline. There we go. These are such strange looking clouds. The shapes, I don't know, they look weird. Here's New Siberian Islands. See these clouds? That's just so weird looking. Okay, here we've got open water. Here's big melt going on. This is part of that northern edge. See, that's what I mean, where it's not very concentrated. You'll see a lot of open water between the pieces there. Here's a good picture of the open water. Here's some more. See? So that's next to the Beaufort Sea. That's, I think that's kind of around the Chukchi Sea area. Now here's the Beaufort Sea. See, here you go. See, a lot of open water. See. So that's coming apart. So here's the Canadian archipelago, here's Canada, here's Alaska, and see, it's melted out. So here's where the ice edge is starting. And there's the melt in the Beaufort Sea. These are clouds. So, I just thought I'd give you an overview before we look at some other days here. Okay, here's the ice edge. See, here's where it's melting, coming away from the coastline there. Here's Ellesmere. I think, yeah, Ellesmere Island. And see, it's broken up along. This is the Ward Hunt ice shelf, and see how broken up this is? That's opened up all along this coastline. This showed up as in the purple range on the Navy website. See, there it is melting. Now the nearest strait has a lot of clouds over it today, so we can't really see that. Let's go back a few days. Here's a good view. Here's yesterday. So see this ice broken up, and see, there it is. Not much ice there. Let's go. Oh, look at this. Here's Greenland. That's a good view. Look at this. This is yesterday. That's stunning to see that. See, it's breaking up, melting all along this coastline. Here's Ellesmere. Now this is a good view from yesterday. Look. See? Open. Let's see what else. Okay, see this east side. See, a lot of open water here. Look at this. That's melting. It's just hard to see much of anything with all these clouds. It's difficult. Let's try the 13th. Here we go. Let's go down here, Beaufort Sea. Look at this. Here we go. See, there's a hole. Uh-oh, I didn't mean to do that. I clicked in the wrong place. So we really need the models so that we can get an idea of what the ice is doing. And then we can hone in on certain areas. See, that's above Greenland. See, look at that. Look at this. Here's a good picture. Here's the nearest strait. You can see it's really melting down. It's just little wispies there. That's really breaking up, and then it's coming out. It's exiting. Here's the rain at Greenland. You see that? And yesterday, anyway, there's that. Now we're ready for earthquakes. A lot has happened earthquake-wise this week, as you know. There was a 7.2 at Haiti. There was an 8.2, I think, down here in South Sandwich Islands, and a 7.3. And it's been rocking for the last few days with large, mainly 5s down here. So let's get started. I took these pictures this afternoon. There were 234 worldwide, all magnitudes. Here's the lower 48. There were 95. Southern California had 20. Searles Valley Ridgecrest had 17. Here from western Nevada over to Colville, California, there were 21. San Andreas Fault Line only had 2. The geysers had 24. Here's Northern California. We've got 4 here. 2.3 at Alder Springs. 2.0 Petrolia. Now this is off the coast, right on the San Andreas Fault Line. 1.4 Big Bend. And a 1.3 at Willits. And then here's one in the ocean just west of the Juan de Fuca plate. This red line is outlining the Juan de Fuca plate. 2.5, and the reporting station is Pistol River, Oregon, but it's in the ocean there. And then nothing in the Pacific Northwest or Yellowstone, which is quite unusual. Then we've got a 3.3 in southern New Mexico near Malaga. This is right next to the Texas border. Here we've got one in Oklahoma, a 2.0 at Quinton, and a 2.0 near Dyersburg, Tennessee. This is in the New Madrid seismic area. Here's Puerto Rico with 12 today. Now here's Haiti. So the big earthquake happened yesterday, and we've had lots of aftershocks here. Here they're showing 6 in the last 24-hour period. 4s and 5s, the largest was a 5.8. Here we've got a 4.3 near El Papayo, Mexico. We've got 2 in South America, 5.4 in northern Peru, and 4.5 at Calama, Chile. Here's the South Atlantic. This is parallel to the South Sandwich Islands. We've got 22 here, all stacked up. So it's still swarming down here. The plates just keep moving. Hawaii showing 34 today, only 1 at Kilauea, and then most of them are clustered here at Pahala. The largest was a 3.9 at Pahala. Alaska is showing 61. We've only got 1 here in Indonesia, 4.4 near Singkil off the coast of Sumatra there. We had 1 on land in Japan, 4.3 near Nagahama. Here's a 5.1 at Chubet, Tajikistan, northern Tajikistan. That came in today at 3:41 this morning. And then last but not least was a 1.7 near Woodlawn, Maryland, just northeast of Washington, D.C. That came in yesterday at 10:06 p.m. Pacific time. That's all of those. Now here on the website, let's see what else has happened. Since I took those pictures, we've got a new one here in Russia, just east of the Baikal Sea, 5.0 near Chitynskaya Oblast, Russia. Now the fires are all the way across. Here's a new one in Turkey, or Armenia, 5.0, Metsevan, Armenia. This one's new too. 5, Tajikistan. Was that on in our pictures? That was in our pictures. We already looked at that. Now I want to show you all the earthquakes this last week. 7 days, all magnitudes. 2,384. Here's what we had this week. Look at this. let's go down here to the South Atlantic. See how they're in this curve. The South Sandwich Islands are just west of the big swarm of earthquakes. There have been 129 down here. And they don't measure the smaller ones. These have mainly been in the 5s range. We've got some 4s, but mainly 5s. A few, some 6s. Here's a 6.3. And here was, it started with a 7.5 on the 12th at 11:32 in the morning, and then an 8.1 at 11:35, so 3 minutes later was the biggest one. And then it's just been rocking ever since. And see, all along this west side of South America, we had one here in the middle of the Atlantic of 5.4, northern mid-Atlantic ridge. We had a 4.5 on the Reykjanes ridge, and a 4.5 just south of Iceland. And let's see what Haiti's gotten. And this has just been in 2 days. See, here was the 7.2. Nothing before that. It just boom, it started. There's the 5.820. I'm sure they had aftershocks that were below these 4.0s, so probably hundreds. If we looked at EMSC, this area would probably have hundreds, including smaller ones. And then up here in Perryville, Alaska, see here, there was a 6.9. This came in about half an hour before the Haiti quake. Look at this. We had one up here, 4.0, Lavrentia, Russia. This was right next to the Bering Strait. And so on. And then there was a big one, 7.1, Pandaguitan, Philippines. Now that was in the ocean. So, see? Lots and lots of shaking. Lots. Now, we'll finish up by reading out of the Bible. I like to bring the focus back to the spiritual aspect, and that's really one of the main reasons I'm doing these shows, is to show us how far along we are in the timeline of the end times. And we are, I believe we are in the end times. We're seeing evidence of it everywhere we look. And all of these things have been prophesied of throughout different books of the Bible. And it's interesting, the prophets, they all wanted to live in our time, I think, to see their prophecies come to pass. I can't even imagine, over 2,000 years ago, like in the Old Testament, where they were prophesying with Isaiah and different ones, and those are all coming to pass now. Jeremiah prophesied the end of the world would come with fire. It would just the way he described it, it was like it was burning up from the inside out. So it looks like that's where we're headed. So tonight we're reading the book of Philemon. Only one chapter, very short book. Philemon, chapter 1. The Epistle of Paul the Apostle to Philemon. Paul, a prisoner of Jesus Christ, and Timothy our brother, unto Philemon, our dearly beloved and fellow laborer, and to our beloved Apphia and Archippus, our fellow soldier, and to the church in thy house, grace to you, and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. I thank my God, making mention of thee always in my prayers, hearing of thy love and faith, which thou hast toward the Lord Jesus and toward all saints, that the communication of thy faith may become effectual by the acknowledging of every good thing which is in you in Christ Jesus. For we have great joy and consolation in thy love, because the bowels of the saints are refreshed by thee, brother. Wherefore, though I might be much bold in Christ to enjoin thee that which is covenant, yet for love's sake I rather beseech thee, being such an one as Paul the aged, and now also a prisoner of Jesus Christ. I beseech thee for my son Onesimus, whom I have begotten in my bonds, which in time past was to thee unprofitable, but now profitable to thee and to me, whom I have sent again. Thou therefore receive him, that is, mine own bowels, whom I would have retained with me, that in thy stead he might have ministered unto me in the bonds of the gospel. But without thy mind would I do nothing, that thy benefit should not be as it were of necessity, but willingly. For perhaps he therefore departed for a season, that thou shouldest receive him forever, not now as a servant, but above a servant, a brother beloved, specially to me, but how much more unto thee, both in the flesh and in the Lord. If thou count me therefore a partner, receive him as myself. If he hath wronged thee, or oweth thee aught, put that on mine account. I, Paul, have written it with mine own hand, I will repay it, albeit I do not say to thee how thou owest unto me even thine own self besides. Yea, brother, let me have joy of thee in the Lord, refresh my bowels in the Lord. Having confidence in thy obedience, I wrote unto thee, knowing that thou wilt also do more than I say. But withal prepare me also a lodging, for I trust that through your prayers I shall be given unto you. There salute thee Epaphras, my fellow prisoner in Christ Jesus, Marcus, Aristarchus, Demas, Lucas, my fellow laborers. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with your spirit. Amen. Written from Rome to Philemon by Onesimus, a servant. Philemon, chapter 1. So we really need to stay on the straight and narrow, keep our eyes on heaven, keep our focus on Jesus. If you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I recommend you do it now while you still have a chance. So, I love you all and I'm praying for you. Hope you have a good week. And until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.